Good afternoon. We're still here on the last day of the Barcelona New Economy Week with the aim of reactivating the economy in our country and also in the world. As you know, we are offering conferences, debates, also interviews during 4 days in 10 different scenarios, in 10 different stages which are connected to each other. We are talking about logistics, real estate, economic zones, digital industry, also sustainability, mobility, talent, science, city, and e-commerce. And we, as you know, are focused on this last one, on e-commerce. Right now, we are going to give way to an interesting and new conference about the cross-border opportunities from America to Europe. And this conference will be moderated by Jerome Linders. Jerome, welcome. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you very much, Cara, for this very nice introduction, which you're going to do, I think.
Jerome Linders is the co-founder of Sales Supply and founder of Crossborder magazine. He has more than 15 years of experience in this sector, so go ahead. Yeah, I see you in a bit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And also from my side, a very warm welcome to this Be New event, especially to this session, the cross-border e-commerce session. According to Statista, that's a major company who does a lot of consumer research, 25% of all the online purchases worldwide are cross-border e-commerce transactions. So 1 out of 4 orders are placed by consumers who live in a completely different country than the company that provides the product. So for example, very simple example, a Spanish consumer buys a product on a Chinese website, AliExpress or Shein, where a lot of young people in Spain buy their products. That's a typical cross-border e-commerce transaction. And as e-commerce is growing all over the world, because of the pandemic, of course, as well, cross-border e-commerce is also growing in the slipstream with it. The main question for you as an online retailer is, of course, how can I benefit from all that growth? What are my opportunities? What are my chances? But there are also challenges, because selling cross-border is not that easy as we might think. And today, I am going to take you on a virtual tour across 3 important continents: Europe, North America, and super grower in e-commerce, South America. And I'm not going to do this alone. I'm going to present you to a few people, very experienced people. I'm very glad that this panel is mine, because they have a lot of experience in retail in general, in e-retail, and also in cross-border e-commerce. I'm going to start with the lady in the middle of us, Artemis Berry. Welcome that you're here, Artemis. You are Vice President of Member Relations and Strategic Partnerships within the NRF, one of the biggest retail organizations in the world. Thank you for being here. Then we have Mauricio Salvador. What's in the name? Mauricio, thank you that you're here. You are President of the Brazilian e-commerce association, APCOM. You're also a great entrepreneur. You have a lot of experience, many years in e-commerce. You also wrote a few e-commerce books, and you own 2 companies who deliver digital and marketing services for merchants. And then last but not least, my country fellow man. We know each other for many years. Wijnand, welkom. Wijnand Jonge. Wijnand is founder of thuiswinkel.org, which is the Dutch e-commerce association. Wijnand is also co-founder of e-commerce Europe, where he is currently president of and takes care of more than 100,000 e-retailers in Europe. And he is also an author of many nice e-commerce related books. One of them is, you have to help me, Wijnand, The End of Online Shopping. And then what comes next?
The future of retail in a world that's always connected.
Very, very good. And then how many languages translated?
More than 12 languages.
And we can buy it on Amazon, I think. Eh? a cross-border transaction on Amazon. Wijnand, thank you. I want to start with you. I explained a little bit about cross-border, what it is, that it's growing. But why should companies go cross-border? Why should online retailers sell in other countries? What's in it for them?
Well, I think it's very simple. We have to acknowledge that there's lots of opportunities for retailers to go cross-border. Not in the least because customers, consumers, they want to have new challenges, new opportunities to go find products and services in different places. So I think the world is out there, the opportunities are there. So retailers, go for it and go cross-border and find your niches and find your opportunities.
Okay, and when they want to do that, what kind of options do they have? On what kind of platforms can they sell, in your opinion?
Well, I think it's for any retailer to find out first out to set out a decent strategy. Do you want to be on platforms? Yes or no? Do you want to collaborate with platforms? Do you want to collaborate with other retailers? And if your product market combination is the right one for a platform, then you should go for it. And of course, there's all kinds of opportunities there. You can go for the whole range. You can. I mean, there's so many platforms, both the big tech platforms, but also lots of niche platforms. So you really have to find out a strategy for what is good for you, and a strategy that hopefully will last for a few years. But there's plenty of chances there.
Okay. Thank you very much. We're going to make the tour. We're going to start in South America with Mauricio. As we talk about platforms, Mauricio, what do you think are the biggest platforms nowadays? Well, you live in Brazil, which is one of the biggest e-commerce markets in South America, maybe together with Mexico. But how do you see that? On what is the landscape in South America?
Hello. In Brazil, we are facing a very huge growing in e-commerce, specifically last year during pandemic. We had over 20 million new e-shoppers just in Brazil, and around 180,000 new online stores. So on average, we have around 4 million new e-shoppers per year. But during pandemic, we have 5 times the average. So it was very, very fast. And most of the e-shoppers and new online stores, they are still selling and buying online even after the pandemic. So the market in Brazil is very concentrated yet. We have 5 big players, big marketplace players, Amazon. Amazon, I'm not telling you on the order, right? I'm just telling the big 5. So Amazon, Mercado Libre, Magazine Luiza, B2W, and Via. Those are the 5 big marketplaces that respond for almost 80% of online sales in Brazil. Of course, that I'm telling about the big companies, but inside them, they are selling 3P, so they are selling products from small business. So they are very important also for small business in Brazil. And as I said, those 180,000 new online stores, most of them are small retailers that they run for e-commerce because of the lockdowns. So the Brazilian scene now is very interesting. There are many interesting opportunities, specifically for overseas to cross-border e-commerce, because the exchange rate now in Brazil is good to sell abroad. So we are on the association. We are now developing the market to try to put those small business on cross-border.
Okay, so what you say is that marketplaces are, I think, the most important platforms in South America. I know Mercado Libre, for example, but there are many of them at the moment.
Yes. The Mercado Libre is the top one, but we have many other niche marketplaces. But when we see the concentration, 5 of the marketplace responds for 80% of the market.
Okay. Then we go to Artemis, North America. Yeah, of course, we all know Amazon. We all know eBay. Can you describe the landscape in North America, Artemis, for us?
Of course. Honored to be here, everyone. So obviously Amazon and eBay, and I think what we leave out about sometimes when we talk about the U.S. market is also, the massive growth of Walmart's marketplace, Etsy's marketplace, Target. So some of our traditional retailers that are part of their growth strategy have expanded, immensely their marketplace capabilities. And very similar to Mauricio, the niche markets are absolutely also growing here. If you think of StockX as an example of a niche marketplace, and then one of my favorites with Wayfair for my home shopping. I think I'm sitting on a purchase from Wayfair today. Overstock, Mercari. We talked about Newegg years ago, right? So the market even includes our traditional retailers that really embrace digital to the core, including with a marketplace platform of their own.
Well, it's very interesting. What you all say is that there are niches or niches marketplaces nowadays. So if I sell a certain kind of shoe in the Netherlands, I have to search for a niche in a marketplace in another continent, and I can be successful there. It doesn't have to be always Amazon. Is that right?
That is what we are seeing. While Amazon's doing an amazing job and has rapid growth, there's space in the market for other players. And I also love what Mauricio said about the small businesses. We're seeing that being a tactic. Many of these brands are taking to also diversify their products, and get more, attract and think of, younger shoppers that have an eye on, wanting to tap into diverse, globally minded products, sustainable products. So as we think of marketplaces, that's where some of the niche platforms can also shine.
Okay, great. Wijnand, can you explain a little bit about Europe? Because are we also that marketplace orientated, or do we have more a mix here in Europe?
Well, I think it's interesting in what Artemis is saying, because I said it before. We're seeing a difference in a shift in trends. In the old days, it used to be the winner takes all. Everybody was afraid of Amazon and eBay. I mean, they would take the whole market, and then everybody would collapse, and there would only be one marketplace left. But and what we see in Europe, and we just heard it also from Artemis and from Mauricio, is that niche marketplaces are really advancing fast. We're giving people lots of more opportunities to shop in different ways, and for retailers, obviously, to shift their business into new ways of doing business. I think in Europe, also over 50% of all the purchases are being done currently on marketplaces. I think in the US it might be even a little bit more. Artemis can say that probably, but we're definitely shifting towards more impact of marketplaces. But I think the interesting part is that niche marketplaces and lots of retailers. I mean, in France, for example, you have basically hundreds of marketplaces that are being set up by traditional retail players. So there's a big landscape, and still a big opportunity there also for traditional retailers, also for niche retailers to find their way to marketplaces. And that's where consumers are flocking to. And so I think that's it's an interesting trend, but no longer the winner takes all, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you very much. There is I think worldwide there's something going on, and that is the battle of the reseller. Because like you explained, Wijnand, every big e-commerce company who started with a traditional web shop opens up now as a marketplace. But are there enough resellers? Are there enough companies I think there's a big battle. I think also in South America that's happening at the moment, Mauricio, or not?
Yes, we have around 80 million e-shoppers in Brazil. Brazil has 200 million the population, but we have 80 million of e-shoppers. So this is a huge number, and the Brazilian shoppers, they love to buy abroad. So Amazon, eBay, AliExpress. So the online market there is not only concentrated on the local players. So this is a very interesting opportunity to sell in Brazil.
If Brazilian people like to shop abroad, cross-border, what do they like to buy? Luxury goods, fashion.
Yes, most. So the average purchase on the ticket is below $50 because of taxes. So if you buy something below $50, you don't pay tax. So clothes, small gadgets like electronic gadgets or cell phone gadgets, this kind of thing, and home depot or like home supplies and this kind of thing. So a small volume things because of the ship and below $50.
Okay. Artemis, when American merchants think about cross-border, where do they go if they think about intercontinental cross-border? Is that I always thought that Europe was their first thought, but is that still the case, or am I wrong?
Probably need Nin's help here, but I think even a decade ago, U.S. retailers had their eyes on emerging markets, right? Looking just at the growth of populations. Probably a decade ago, I think I was talking about India and Brazil as emerging markets at that point in terms of cross-border. I believe at one of Winnin's events in Europe, where we were speaking about it. So I think it depends on the retailer. There's a lot of caution and a lot of stories to make sure they are doing that right for any sort of international expansion strategy. Who are their partners? So I think it really depends on the brand. It depends on how thoughtful they are being around how to go in, how to think of how the product fits online. But obviously the South American market is one that many of our retailers have their eyes on, as you can see by even our marketplace penetration there. So it is Europe and beyond for sure.
Okay. Thank you very much. And Wijnand, how do you see that with the European companies? If they think about intercontinental cross-border, where do they go?
Well, first of all, I think there's still a huge opportunity for European web shops and retailers to go to other European countries. So I think that's where they first want to take a look at. For them, it's just a little harder to go to either US or to South America, for example. So only the bigger ones are looking, and only most of the time the online ones are really looking at different continents. But there are not that many successful cases of European, except for the really big ones, for European entrepreneurs to go to different continents. And there really is no need to it, to the sense that there's still lots of opportunity within Europe. And now that we have created, let's say, open structure without VAT limitations that Mauricio just talked about, within Europe, we're now working really hard to get rid of all those VAT limitations, to really be treated like a single market. That makes it very helpful for European entrepreneurs to do business in other European countries.
Okay, and is that especially for European companies to stay in Europe, or is it also easier for, let's say, Brazilian companies to enter in the European market?
Well, yeah, it's also easier for outside, we call that third-party players to come to Europe, because we, within the European Union, we also created a import one-stop shop for VAT, for example. So it's now clear for a, let's say, Brazilian retailer when they want to come to Europe that we only have a one-stop shop for VAT collection, and that makes life easier. I mean, just think about it. In the past, it used to be that you would have to sign up for 27 or 28 or whatever VAT collection points, and which of course was incredible. But now we've solved that. So making cross-border e-commerce easier for both Europeans to stick with the e-commerce within the European borders, or for outside European players to come to Europe.
Another question about that, Wijnand, also to you, is that American companies, when they used to come to Europe, they always first stopped at the UK because that was easy, because of the language, etc. But now we have, of course, Brexit, and through the UK entering Europe has become more difficult. How
Sure.
do you see that now?
Well, I mean, that's the choice of our friends from the UK. They chose to leave the European Union. So for the Americans or whatever, any country come to Europe, it doesn't make much sense anymore to first go to the UK.
Yeah.
So it's smarter to come directly to Amsterdam, I would think.
Yes, that's a good idea. I was waiting for that answer, actually. We already started talking a little bit about, of course, the opportunities, but also let's say, the challenges, the barriers that there are. Because I think a lot of people think that selling cross-border is easy, but it has been made easier by the marketplaces, but still there are a lot of, let's say, entry barriers, especially intercontinental, how is that in the States, Artemis? Is it for me easy as a European retailer to enter in the United States, for example, with all the sales taxes, and are there other barriers?
I mean, that is one. I think, things are getting a bit easier in some respects. I would say a lot of our U.S. brands right now have really been trying to get through some of the challenges of even global supply chains and other kind of issues. So that's been more of the focus for brands in the U.S. and our government and this COVID recovery. But I do think it will continue to improve over time, and with the amount of e-commerce growth and consumer spending and needs that the U.S. shopper is hungry and there's a lot of growth. It's higher than even our projected growth that we put out earlier this year. So, we need to have a solution to be able to, get great products and retailers in and brands in, to match those demands. But that's kind of from what I see from my perspective.
A lot of times merchants ask me, do I need to set up an entity if I want to sell in the US? Is that necessary?
That I probably have to lean on my team for. It's constantly changing in terms of, but we have, as an example, the Shein team is selling to the U.S. consumer cross-border, and while they have a U.S. team, there are ways that there are different exceptions, around. So I probably need to defer to the team for more information on kind of that changing economic and policy world.
Okay. Mauricio, if I want to sell on a local marketplace in Brazil, do I need to set up an entity in Brazil?
If you sell through international marketplace, as Amazon or AliExpress or eBay, you don't need. But if you want to sell on a local marketplace, yes, you do, because you need to make an invoice in Brazil. So pay taxes in Brazil. So this is more complicated. So as first step to sell in Brazil, I would say that try one of those international marketplace using an international payment method like PayPal or Alipay, something like this. So you have you will have more knowledge about how things work before you go to the second step.
Yeah. Okay. You also told me that the shipping costs are very high in those markets. How do they have a solution for that?
Depending on the size or volume of the package and where are you shipping from, But it is still very expensive to ship to Brazil. For if you are a small business, for example, shipping from UPS or FedEx, it will be very expensive. But if you have partnership with Brazilian carriers like Correios or companies that attend the Brazilian market with more frequency, so you may have a good price for this, but it is very, very expensive to ship. Sometimes Brazilians, they pay $50 for the package and another $50 for the shipping cost.
Yeah, that is not worth it. But what I think is also very interesting in South America is that, well, the market is growing. We have, let's say, South America before and after COVID. People went to the online stores when COVID started, and are they keep doing this, or do you see that when the normal stores are opening again, that the trend goes a little bit down?
We had an increase of 68% on e-commerce revenues last year, and this year we have 34. It's half of the increase, but it is still very high. As I said, 20 million people, they bought for the first time online in Brazil last year, and many of them are still buying even after pandemic. So they are still in the game. So I believe that some categories like groceries, groceries in Brazil, online sales of groceries in Brazil wasn't representative. And after pandemic, it is very, very representative. So this is one of the categories most important now. And other like drugs, food, health, beauty. So some of the categories, they wasn't representatives, and after pandemic they are very, very representative. So I think this is the most important shift during the pandemic.
Yeah, and what the good thing is, I think that only 60% of the people have access to internet in South America, and that I suppose will grow the upcoming years as well. So that makes the market, I think, very interesting for merchants who want to sell there.
Yes. This is the big opportunity, because the market is already big, so it's already interesting, but we still have more room to grow. So we still have more 120 million people that didn't buy online yet, but they will be. One time they will be. So this is the opportunity.
Wow. Artemis, a question for you, because we see everything is growing, e-commerce, cross-border. It's all nice, of course, but we also have to think a little bit about the earth. Yeah, we see now a lot of things happening. Lack of raw materials, container prices very high, even lack of staff. I see in some countries there are no people who are available to do the logistics. How do you see that?
Yeah, thank you for touching on that. Let me touch on the supply chain disruption first. We're due to the pandemic and other reasons, we've seen a big slowdown in retail imports to the U.S. That is having a massive increase on costs as well. And as just an example, I don't know if you've seen pictures of this, but the container ships backed off of California in the port of Long Beach and port of Los Angeles down to Huntington Beach. It's something I don't believe we've seen before. The all-time highs in September going into our holiday season. This is a bit of a massive impact and disruption. It is top of minds. We surveyed our members at NRF, and this was an issue for every single one of them. That is not something that normally happens, especially with the size of our membership at NRF. We are working closely with the administration in the U.S. on a task force for supply chain specifically to see, what can we do? The port congestion, overseas container availability issues, ocean carrier capacity issues, and like you said, the shortage of labor in the workforce. So, COVID has at one point some of our members saw things had evened out, and now even in some categories we didn't expect, our members are having issues. So a big problem that we are trying and our members are trying to tackle and have workarounds, which is money. It hurts the bottom line if we don't resolve it soon.
Is this also a big discussion, Wijnand, in e-commerce Europe, the association here?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think worldwide we're all suffering right now under the higher prices for logistics, container cost, raw materials. And I mean that's a big issue because that has an effect on production overseas and wherever. Shortage of labor is a big issue. I also think of course, the big question is how long will these problems stay? We haven't even talked about energy prices, which are now soaring, so it's like a whole ball game of problems that we're seeing, and since there's such a big demand for products and services, by the way, but also for products to come overseas and it raises some questions. One on sustainability. It raises questions on nearshoring or homeshoring. I hear people talking, retailers talking about, well, we should be less dependent on China. So why don't we go to look at some nearshoring options and even some homeshoring options? The good thing of all these problems and crises, of course, is that we become innovative. That we have to look for new opportunities to innovate, to look for new solutions. And one of the set of solutions that you are touching upon, Jeroen, is of course that I think ultimately sustainability will offer us some new solutions for retailers. Think about reusing, repair, recycle type of solutions, new services that we can offer to consumers, but also services that will make us less dependent, maybe in the long run, in the very long run, on all these raw materials, on these logistics, and having our products sent over from so far away.
Great, thank you very much. Artemis, you talked about the holiday season. It's coming up really quickly. Black Friday, Christmas, all kinds of holidays. With the lack of staff and all those kind of things, the lack of raw materials, how are we going to, and every year it goes up, every year the sales online go up during the holidays. How are we going to survive this year?
Well, the good thing is, many of our retailers have been planning as well as they can. There was, if we can get through last year, we can get through anything. I will say on the e-commerce front, that massive growth in the U.S. that we saw, even though we were, quite a digital first, or digital centric country in terms of shopping behavior, but that has leveled off a little bit to, kind of be more normal, but still double-digit growth, which is, phenomenal. And I think some of the other ways that we're trying to think about and continue to innovate is, for in-store pickup. BOPIS is our buy online pickup in-store option of really, enabling the teams to get products to people when they want it, where they want it. And we've seen, I think there was some quotes from Deloitte or PwC, some of our big consulting partners and Microsoft, of how much growth and innovation we saw in 1 year, right? Was equivalent to, it was 2 months of innovation in that normally takes a year or two, right? So even with challenges, we're ready, and there'll be some bumps for sure, but foot traffic we expect will be, up obviously compared to last year in stores and e-com. Our prediction for forecast will come out in just a couple of weeks. in the U.S., but we expect, good things to even despite these workforce and supply chain challenges.
Okay, okay. You have the same voice,
Sorry, my voice.
as I have at the moment. Doesn't matter.
I have young daughters. She is getting me those germs, post-COVID germs.
Okay. Yeah, another important question for all the three of you. Of course, you work in associations, e-commerce associations, so you have a lot of members. What do you do to, let's say, encourage your members to go cross-border? Maybe I start with Mauricio, South America. What do you do to bring South American companies to the United States or to Europe or to China?
The first thing we are working on is to try to break the mental barrier. So specifically on small entrepreneurs. So they think that selling abroad is impossible. It's very difficult. It's just for the big players. Okay. So we are starting to making some training programs. Some of these training programs in partnership with the Brazilian export, the government of the official export agency in Brazil. Some of the training are by ourselves. So we are bringing to this small business successful cases of people, small business also in Brazil, of people that are selling and being successful. So this is the first step. The second step, we are bringing to the table to discuss and to negotiate with some international carriers to try to make them have a good price, specifically if we make some group to buy the shipping costs, to pay the shipping costs for high volumes and distribute this for the small players. So this is another thing. And the third one is regarding language. So most of the small entrepreneurs, they don't speak English, so this is a barrier to make the client service with the international buyers. And in this case, we are also talking with big online foreign marketplace like eBay, how they are handling the online translation for these Brazilian online stores. So we are working on these three steps. So training, shipping costs, and language.
Okay. Because is it true that a lot of South American companies first think about Spain when they want to go cross-border, because there's a traditional relationship, language is not a big problem?
Not at all. The first market is US because of the the same continent, so shipping and this kind of thing. So it's cheaper to ship to US than to Spain. And the other things that one more thing regarding how we are fostering the cross-border in Brazil is giving information about what is good to sell abroad and what isn't. For example, a Brazilian online store selling an iPhone abroad, it's impossible because of the taxes they pay in Brazil. It's very high and this kind of thing. But selling, for example, apparel or other kind of products like sporting goods, and there are many interesting things that Brazilian online stores can sell, and with competitor price than selling electronics, for example.
Clear. Wijnand, same question for you. What are you doing to encourage merchants in Europe to go abroad?
Well, to be very honest, we are not doing that much at all at that point because we believe that we want to create a level playing field and an environment within Europe, within the 27 countries of the European Union, to make cross-border within those within that European Union feasible, thereby trying to create a place for other from all over the world, from whether it's China, whether it's the US, whether it's Brazil, to come to Europe and to do business here. And I think that's our main task, and that's what we're focused on. And I think we've been quite successful. For example, we just we created, for example, a level playing field on logistics. There used to be a VAT exemption for products for imports of small consignments below 22 euros, which of course was a big issue for Europeans because European business couldn't take advantage of that. So now we've got rid of that, one of the results of effective lobbying of e-commerce Europe, and now it's a level playing field. So we focus on making cross-border business within Europe feasible, and of course everybody can take advantage of them, the countries within Europe, the retailers within Europe, but also retailers outside of Europe.
We are close to the end of this session. Artemis, in 30 seconds, can you tell us what you guys do in America to encourage cross-border?
Yeah, I think I'll probably just tack into, I've mentioned all of those marketplace platforms as, I think less about what, my organization is doing, but more about, what all of the organizations in our membership base are doing to expand their assortment. So if it's one of the dozens of marketplaces, that's probably, something that has expanded beyond that one big winner that Win played. So that's probably the one thing. And then, like Mauricio said, the education, the piece, what they need to be successful here. I'll put a plug that at the big show we cover quite a lot of this. So yeah, hopefully many of you in January will see us.
This is very nice. Okay, guys, I want to thank you very much for this information. I think it was very useful. Thank you for the trip across the continents, and we see each other soon, I think. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, all of you. But we have a question for the public, so hold on. It's a question from Yoli. Any one of you can answer it. Yoli asks, how would tax issues work between local providers in South America and the marketplace in Europe? Any one of you?
That's not an easy one.
Yeah. So regarding South America, the tax in Brazil has a set of below $50, so there's no tax, and after that, over $50. So you have, depending on the kind of product. So if it is electronic, it will be 1%. If it is apparel, it is another percentage. So it will be very specific depending on the category.
Okay, I don't know if anyone else wants to add something, or we leave it here. Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you, Jerome, for moderating this panel. It has been really, really interesting. We have to say goodbye and say thank you all our sponsors, our global partners, the Ministry of Transport, the Barcelona City Council, Servi Habitat, and Akbar. And we leave you now with an inspirational talk with Pablo Vidarte, the CEO in Bio, a biotechnology company that started from scratch and is currently capable of generating his own electricity from nature using biological batteries. So hold on and see you later.